If we want to put that in, modern day terms, he was in advanced stages of leprosy. And if we want to just quickly boil down what this guy's problem was, it's right there. He had, everybody say it, leprosy. The dude was dying. Now, we may have heard this whole leper stuff, and may have some form of understanding of it. Modern day terms for it it's called Hansen's disease. It's got symptoms like lupus and other type diseases. And in our, thank God, in our modern day medicine, it's not as devastating as it used to be. But in this context, if you contracted leprosy, you were a dead man or woman. It was going to kill you. Leprosy is this disease that starts on the outside, it starts on the very fringes of your body, not subcutaneously, on the top of your skin, and it basically attacks your extremities first. It'll go to your toes and fingers first, and it will basically eat away those digits. One morning you will have woken up and one of your fingers will have fallen off. Your toes eventually will all fall off. It actually attacks other extremities, like the cartilage in your nose. It eats away the cartilage in your nose. So that eventually, in the advanced stages of leprosy, your nose falls off. But those things are painful and horrifying to look at, and all those things, disfiguring. But the real devastating stuff about leprosy is when it goes inside your body. And like a cancer, it just starts eating at the linings of our digestional system. And you know how you die of leprosy? Ulcers. You bleed out from the inside as the leprosy makes holes inside the linings of your intestines and stomach. Without any medicine to stop it or anything like this, this was a horrible, painful, prolonged way to die. Leprosy wasn't just this, horrible, way to die. It was also basically kept you from being able to even function. I mean, think about it. If you lost your fingers and toes, could you do your job? I mean, probably not as well as you do now. And think about these guys back then. They were subsistence farmers for the most part. If you wanted to eat, you had to grow it. You had to tend the flocks. You had to, you had to basically make your life for yourselves. And so, if you contracted these diseases, you were not only going to die of it, but you were going to be unable to provide for yourself while you were dying. The disease had this horrible impact as well on your senses. As leprosy basically invaded your skin, you would become numb. Parts of your skin, it would be like you went to the dentist all the time and got shots everywhere. And so, if you didn't die from the leprosy itself, perhaps you would die from another injury that you incurred but didn't even know you had. I was listening to a guy basically talk about visiting a leper colony in one of the teachings I heard on this text, and he shared how he saw many in that leper colony who were bandaged, and so he went up to them and he said, "Hey, are these bandages on you because of your condition, your disease?" And they'd say no. I mean, almost all of them said no. These bandages are here because we've been deadened to pain. And pain, we all think pain's a bad thing. Pain's a good thing. Pain is your body telling you, hey, whatever you're doing, stop. Because you're going to wreck this thing. You're going to burn this arm. You're going to break that leg, right? That's why we have pain. God gave it to us. But if your nerve endings are deadened, you don't have that God-given gift of pain anymore, and you get hurt. One gentleman told this guy the story of how he got too close to a stove and leaned up against a burner that he didn't understand that it was on, and he had no sensation of burning. The only thing that let him know that he was on fire was the smell of his flesh smoldering. And so lepers not only died of their disease, not only weren't able to provide for themselves, they were unable to sense the pains that would hurt them. But it went way beyond just even that. Leprosy was a community disease. It was basically one of these things. It was highly contagious, and so if you were a leprous person, because they didn't know how to handle it and stuff, they just went overboard. They said, "You must go." So, picture this. You're having a nice Thanksgiving dinner, let's say, with your family, but someone notices this little lesion on your skin. And they say, Dad, what's that? And your brother-in-law says, oh, no. That looks like, and no one wants to even say the L word. Because if it is the L word, everybody knows that the responsibility of this family that loves this man, the wife, the kids, the sibling, that they have to report this man, and he has to be put out. And so they go and get the disease confirmed, and indeed, in one fell swoop, this guy loses everything. Family, friends, livelihood, and he's set out away from the camp. They actually, if they even did come within healthy people, they were told, it was like, putting a bell on the cat's neck. They were told that they had to yell. For the sake of all those who were healthy, they had to yell, unclean, unclean, as they entered into the space that people were inhabiting. And it was like this unspoken restraining order. The 100 yards. Everybody would back off so as not to breathe in the air of the diseased. Studies have been, taken on folks who have been separated from human touch, and just how psychologically, not just physically, but psychologically, that just takes its toll. And so leprosy brought that on a human life. But it didn't just stop there. If you were a good Jewish good Jewish person, you did your worshiping in the temple. That's where God was. He was behind the curtain of the Holy of Holies, and if you wanted to be in contact with him, that's how you do it. You'd go to the temple. Well, if you contracted leprosy, you're not coming to church. There is just no way. In fact, I remember Jesus was asked once by his disciples when he was looking at a blind man, who sinned, this guy or his parents, to make this man blind? And Jesus had a good teaching opportunity there. But most people during those days, they figured if you did get sick, that it was because of your sin that you are now stricken. And so people would shun you as unclean, not just physically, but spiritually. And you would feel like you had been abandoned by God. Ever felt that way? Felt like God is way over there and you're here and there's no way you can get to there? Yeah, the leper in this society had been given a death sentence. He'd been separated from everybody who knew him and loved him. And he'd even felt like God had abandoned him as well. New Testament lepers, they're like the Old Testament character Job. Everything had been taken from them. So that's a pretty big problem. Everybody agree? Well, what was the solution? Well, this leper was probably out in the woods somewhere or on the outskirts of a city. He was minding his own business when the word came down that there was a carpenter from Nazareth who had somehow figured out a way to cure diseases that had been incurable until that time. And so you can just imagine every sick person who hears about this guy, Jesus, being like, where is he? Who is he? How do I get to him? Put yourself in his shoes. If you were diagnosed with cancer, and some of you I know have been, if you were diagnosed with cancer today, incurable, untreatable cancer, and the news came across the line, it was on our home web pages, it was on the front page, new miracle pill has been discovered at Mayo's Clinic in Minnesota. If you get on this treatment, this regimen, it will nullify. It cures cancer. As a cancer patient, are you like, oh, that's cool? Or, as soon as you read the headline, are you grabbing the phone and making the reservations? Minneapolis, now! Yeah, you're on a plane, and you're getting in line with the rest of the cancerous people of America, and you're paying whatever it costs to be cured of this incurable disease. Well, the leper hears about this Jesus guy, and he doesn't need to hear a whole lot more than that. Just any hope at all of someone being able to take care of this leprosy that he has, he's like, I'm in. And because he was covered with it, he made probably the painful, struggle just to get into town to find Jesus. He went through, people shrieking in fear as they saw his face. And, it's not in the text, but I'm just imagining this guy didn't just kind of like he was on the way to get a sandwich at Subway, and he's like, oh, here's that Jesus character. No, he pursued finding Christ. That was the first part of his solution.